I want to introduce you to Live to Lead Long Island. Live to Lead Long Island is a full day leadership conference. It's hosted by myself, and we have some other great speakers there. John Maxwell will be attending virtually through pre-recorded video, but there'll also be some live speakers there. And it's a day full of inspiration, leadership strategies, life strategies. You will develop yourself as a leader, as an overcomer. My goal is to cram pack as much value into that day as possible. I want more for you than I want from you. You will walk away with tools and tips and strategies that you could use right away to start implementing in your life to get better results with your team, with your family, with your personal self. It's made for everybody, whether you're the multi-billion-dollar leader of a multi-billion-dollar company or whether you're a startup entrepreneur, solopreneur. There is value there for you. So great networking. It's on Hop Hall, Long Island. It's coming up January 22nd. It's a Friday. It's a full day, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. event. Cram packed. You're going to get a delicious breakfast, lunch, plenty of opportunities to network. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's music, there's dancing, there's tools and tips and strategies, everything leadership based. You're going to have a great time. Check out the website, lead, L-E-A-D, L-I for longisland.com, live to lead li.com. The QR code is down below. Check it out. Register today. If you're interested in being a sponsor, click on the link down there and request sponsorship packages. We're happy to have you as a sponsor. We're selling tables at a discounted price. So sign up today. It's not too soon. January 22nd, it's a Friday, full day event. Live to Lead Long Island. Talk to you soon. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thanks.
How are you?
Welcome back. This is episode 23 of the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp. I am the founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. We're here to help businesses and business leaders to develop their leadership skills, develop their leadership teams, develop leadership strategies, because we understand that better leaders produce better results. We have an exciting show today. I'm joined by a very special guest, Tony Nuzio from ICC Logistics. And Tony's been around in business for quite a while. Tony, why don't you greet our listening audience and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Tony Nuzio, founder and chairman of ICC Logistics Services. Started auditing freight bills way back 1975. So we're in our 51st year of business, it's incredible. And the more I think about it, it's been one heck of a journey. So started out in my dining room, just auditing freight bills, looking for overcharges and sharing whatever refunds I got from clients with from the shippers, from the carriers, freight carriers to my clients. And that's how the business started.
That's awesome. So just give us, so maybe not everybody's familiar with freight, how to transport their items and stuff like that. Just give us a little bit of background as to actually how your business functions, what problem you solve for your clients. When one of our listeners is listening, I want them to be able to say, you know what, I need to call Tony and get some information from him, have him help us out. How does that person know that you're the person?
Okay. Great question. So basically what we do is we help companies that ship products, and they can ship anything from a small parcel to a truckload to an ocean container by rail. Doesn't make any difference how they convey the freight. We can help them find the money they never knew was missing through a couple of different services. First is comprehensive auditing of those invoices to make sure that they're being charged the correct rate based on whatever pricing that shipper has agreed to with their freight carriers. The other part of the business, which is even more impactful in terms of revenue recovery, is helping them to renegotiate rates based on what the most competitive rates are for their products. So again, whether it's a company using UPS or FedEx or DHL, whether it's a company that's shipping ocean or air, truckload, LTL, we can help them do that, help them review that stuff.
So our listener base is global. We have probably about 50 different countries around the world. We're in just about every single state in the United States of America. So anybody anywhere who's shipping any kind of product across the globe into the US, out of the US, across the US? How about from a foreign country to another foreign country? US. Thank you for listening to the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp, the host of the International Leadership Podcast and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. Most leaders want to scale their businesses. The challenge is that you need to scale your own personal growth and leadership development in order to scale your business. You need to develop your own leadership as well as the leadership of the people underneath you. If you have a good team that's all moving in the same direction, helping to carry the load, you're going to be more successful at scaling your business. That's what Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions does. We train, we coach, we mentor, and we consult on business leadership strategy, leadership growth and development for leaders in the company in order to develop a good company culture, everyone's moving in the right direction, and to strategize your business for scaling. Give us a call at 631-770-7705 for a free initial consultation, or just email me at joe@beauchampteam.com. The contact information is right there on the screen, and I will respond to you and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much. Foreign country, U.S. not involved at all. You handle that too?
Absolutely. We're actually working with a couple of startups right now that are looking to get into one is in looking for an operation in Brazil, and we've hooked them up with a 3PL in Brazil. And they'll be shipping to the US, they'll be shipping to other South American countries as well as to Europe and Asia.
That's
So
awesome.
regardless of where they're shipping from and to, regardless of what they're shipping, we've got a network of service providers, network of partners who can help them, find the solutions that they need for their business.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, there's tremendous value in being in this industry for 51 years now.
That's
So
correct.
for 51 years, like things were so different back. I mean, I'm 55, so I have a vague recollection of
Yes,
1975.
right.
But the fact that you've been in business, like this is something that you cannot replicate through AI. It's not like some kid who's 25 years old is going to jump on Chat GPT and get that level of knowledge, experience, know-how. You know, when you look at stuff, you've developed a gut feeling. You're like, no, that's not right. This is what it should be. You know, and that only comes with time, experience, sweat, blood, tears, grit, grind,
All of the above.
all the
And,
above. And you've
and
put that
it's
time
kind of
in.
interesting that you say that, because sometimes when I say we've been in business for 50 years, people might say, well, they're old. They remember the way it used to be, but you have to grow. The business has grown. Obviously, one of the things that's made us successful is our ability to change. Because if you don't change, you put yourself in a box. And we've
Yeah,
had change. We're not ICC 2.0, we're probably ICC 200.0
yeah,
because of all of the changes that have gone on in the industry. So, when I go back to auditing paper invoices, we utilizing paper tariffs to check a rate, take me 20, 25 minutes to check one freight bill, to where we are today, digesting literally hundreds of thousands of transactions a week from
wow,
clients and auditing those invoices, validating those rates against their contracts, making recommendations to them on how to get better rates, better costs in their business. It just keeps changing. The technology changes, and we have to take advantage of that technology. But you're right. In the background, we know when it doesn't look right. We have
right.
to say that just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. Your gut just tells you. You look at it, you're like, yeah, wrong number,
Exactly.
wrong way. That's not, yeah. So now, tell us, I'm always amazed that there's like global conferences on every topic under the sun. What's your favorite conference when it comes to like logistics? Is there like a trade show you go to somewhere or?
Yeah, we're gonna be at Deliver 2026 in Las Vegas in September, and that's a global conference of high level decision makers in the transportation and logistics industry. So and there are obviously other meetings that go on parcel world and so on, where they specialize in parcel, or mailcom, which is specializing obviously in U.S. mail situations. But Deliver is the conference that we'll be attending. Oliver Najumi, who is our executive vice president, will be there in September, and looking forward to presenting to a couple of the groups within that conference, the value that a logistics consultant like ICC can bring to the table.
Yeah. Great. Good luck with that. I hope it goes
Thank
well.
you. Thank
Enjoy
you.
Las Vegas. I hope the weather out there is beautiful. It generally is the same all year round,
Exactly.
hot and
Exactly.
dry. But yeah, have a really successful conference out there. Share your wisdom. Hopefully, you gain new clients, and I hope everything goes great. Just to our listening audience, I'm going to say, if you're not going to conferences and educating yourself on the latest and the greatest and what's going on in your industry, you're missing out. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You're doing a disservice to your customer base and to your employees. So listen, follow Tony's advice here. He's going out there like he's been in the business for 51 years. He's still going to conferences, still learning, still getting involved, still growing. That's really the key to success. If you're not continuously growing and developing, you're going to become obsolete.
Absolutely. No
So
question.
Tony, take us back to that journey. Like, it's always every story of success starts off with, a real difficult time that people had to just endure. You just had to grit it out, just tough it out. And you were like 20, how old were you? 25,
I was 28 when I started, so I'll tell you
28
how.
years old.
Mhm.
And I remember when I was 28, I don't think I wasn't an entrepreneur. I had a safe job, and I'm so glad I have a safe 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. I know my paycheck.
Mhm.
And I was happy that I didn't live the entrepreneurial lifestyle at that time. Of course, that entrepreneurial bug eventually got to me and I launched out on my own. But tell me
Right.
about this time, like you're 28 years old and you're married, right? At that
Married,
time,
3 kids at the time. Yep.
married,
Yep.
3 kids,
Yep.
28 years old. I would say that had to be some convincing to convince your wife
It,
to,
yeah, it certainly was. The good news is that the person who convinced me to start my own business was my father-in-law.
that's a
So,
huge trust issue right
yeah,
there.
so
Thank
getting my
God he
ground
trusted you that much.
free was
Well, he trusts
relative.
you with his daughter. He trusts you to go
Exactly.
out and launch. So he must have seen something in you that was different.
He did, and I am so grateful, so thankful, because I never could have done it without him having the faith in me that I could do what he envisioned for me. And again, we started out as just an auditing firm, and in those days, you could make a very, very good living just auditing freight bills. But our business grew. We realized early on, because of my training prior to starting the business, working for several large manufacturing companies. I realized that a lot of the clients that I was dealing with and auditing their invoices, we were to cover X dollars, but we could, in overcharges, but we could save them 10, 20 times that through contract negotiations, helping them to negotiate better contracts, and things of that nature, helping them describe their freight properly. Some shippers
Hmm.
didn't even know what the right classification was for their product. Some
Right.
CFOs didn't know that the freight carriers were increasing the rates every year. That was one of the unique things I found in this industry. And I'm going back to 75, and it goes back even further, where there's a general rate increase every year. Every January, the carriers come out and say, we're going to increase our rates 5.9%, 6.9%, depending upon inflation, et cetera.
Wow.
And I've talked to CFOs, and they said, I didn't know the carriers increased their rates every year. I don't know many other industries that can go out there and apply a 6 or 7% increase every year on their product,
Unless
continually.
it's like government, something taxable,
Exactly,
it doesn't seem
exactly.
realistic. That's a lot of
Yeah.
money.
And now, fast forward to today, not only do we have those general rate increases that come in January, but all throughout the year, we're getting multiple levels of increases. They're changing the fuel surcharge. They're changing
Hmm.
residential delivery fees. They're changing zones. So what used to cost $25 is now $35. And it's a constant change in the pricing that many, many shippers aren't even aware of until after the fact, when it hits the bottom line and they've already
Right.
spent the money, and say, what happened? How did we get here?
Yeah. I think it'd be a tremendous asset just to even, I guess if a client, if one of your clients, you're like on an ongoing basis working with them, for you to even let them know, hey, by the way, this new pricing structure is coming into play due to fuel increases, due to, New York City, was it last year, whenever they did that congestion
Right, congestion charge, right?
charges and stuff like that. Like that's all that's affecting everybody's um logistics charges and on shipping stuff around. So for you to be able to say, hey, by the way, CFO, when you're doing your accounting, bookkeeping, number stuff, you need to plan for these increases that are coming up. I think that would be great information as opposed to finding it after the fact and be like, oh my God, what happened this past quarter? Oh, we've had 3 months worth of 10, 15, 20% increased shipping charges that we didn't account for. We didn't pass it on to our clients. We didn't try to cut somewhere else. So for, just having you on board, I think would be a great asset just for that.
We put out a tremendous amount of content in exactly what you're saying. We publish a weekly newsletter called Logistics Strategies. We're out on LinkedIn. We're out on Substack, pointing out anytime there's any change, and not just going out and throwing the numbers out, but giving the shipping world examples of, it was 10, now it's 12, and that's on one package. But if you ship 150,000 packages a month, now add those dollars up. So
Yeah, it adds up a lot.
correct, yeah. So keeping the shipping public apprised of what these changes are and how it impacts their bottom line is something we've been doing for forever. We will continue to do that, to get that message out there that there's help. You don't
Yeah,
have to sit back and pay these charges, because everything, the other side of that is everything's negotiable if you know what to negotiate, right, and how to negotiate and what the numbers should be. And that's the value that we bring to the table. Because an individual shipper, he could only manage his own shipping, right? So all he knows is, oh, I have this carrier and I just signed this contract. I had a CFO tell me one time, we're getting an 89% discount from our freight carrier. How can you do any better than that? I said, well, it's the old story about 89% off of what, right?
what?
So
Yeah,
they inflate the base rate. Now they give you an 89% discount. You feel like, oh my God, this is great. I've done
right.
remarkable.
Why should I go anywhere else? How about I get
Exactly.
an
And
89%
and
discount?
exactly. So we go back and now we do an analytical study based on his 89% discount, put him into a different base rate structure that goes back a couple of years ago, and now give him a 45% discount, and he's saving about 34%.
Right.
So
That's
so
amazing.
that's it's a shell game. It's an
Yeah.
absolute shell game.
Now, let's just be clear to our listening audience. If they engage with you for auditing their shipping, they're only paying you when they're saving money, right? Like it's like you're going to charge them this, heavy fee to come in and look at everything.
95% of what we do is contingency based. There are some clients, be honest with you, who are afraid based on a contingency how much they'll have to pay us. So we'll give them a fee based agreement.
Flat rate.
For the most part, it's contingency based, results driven. If we don't find anything, then we don't get paid. So it's
Yeah. There's
how.
no risk. There's no risk in contacting you. The worst case scenario, they walk away wiser
Yeah.
and confident that their pricing and their structure are good and sound, and they've had a great conversation with a great person, which is you. And
Thank you. And what we tell them is we give them an attaboy, pat them on the back. You guys are doing a great job. Let's talk again next year, and do this again and see if we can help you then. So
right.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Great business model.
Thank
So tell me, what were some of the struggles that you dealt with from a leadership perspective, right? So this is the International Leadership Podcast. We want to help the audience to learn good leadership principles, apply good leadership strategies. You've been in business for 51 years. You've seen everything change. We've been to the moon and back. We just recently went around the moon again. There was, I don't know,
you.
50 years in between,
Yeah.
55, whatever. Anyway, but like so much has changed over the course of time. You've dealt with different economies, market crashes, wars, multiple wars. Um, what have what can the audience glean from this 51 years of experience in leadership, leading a company, providing value for your customers, keeping employees employed, keeping yourself and your family taken care of?
Great question. And I can go back to a couple of things that stick in my mind back in 2008 when we had that financial crisis, how companies just, withdrew. They were in, and I wrote a story about it called, decision paralysis. And everybody, and to be honest with you, we did the same thing in 2000 to 2002 through COVID. It was the same thing. Nobody wanted to make any kind of decisions because they didn't know what tomorrow was going to bring. But what's interesting about our business is even in a downturn economy, we actually become more valuable because if we have the ability to enhance our clients' bottom line at a time when they need it most,
Right.
why are we having a decision paralysis issue? Because there's no out-of-pocket cost, there's no
Right.
risk. You gain only a percentage of what we can actually find. We take the risk. If we can't find any money for you, there's no charge for our services.
Right.
So, but again,
Yeah,
that
it's like a no-brainer. So everybody needs you, your services, and or somebody who does, something similar.
correct. Correct.
So,
Yeah, and
you know,
that's a great point. I don't mean to interrupt you there, but referring them to folks who can do audits of their energy bills, and their imports, looking at the duty rates, looking at their import fees. We're working with clients now. We've got one client where we've determined they've overpaid duty by $300,000, and that's just on the
wow.
sampling. So, there's a lot of money to be saved.
Yeah. A lot of business owners focus so much on the revenue side, right? If they want to increase the bottom line, they're looking at increasing the top line and, not really focusing on that middle line, right? We never talk about the middle line. The middle line is, the money that's going out, right? And so that's what
Right.
you're fixing. If you could reduce the amount of money that people are spending in order just to do their day-to-day business, you're increasing the bottom line. They don't have to put another salesperson on the floor. They don't have to come up with a new product. They don't have to enhance their marketing scheme or anything. They can just keep the top line running the same way. We're just going to take that middle line and adjust it, and then you're going to get more money in the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We have a chart on our website at www.icclogistics.com that proves that point. And what we did was say, as an example, hypothetically, if you're working at a 10% profit, we save you $100,000. You would have to sell $1 million worth of product to gain that $100,000 to your bottom line. So
Wow.
when it comes to millions of dollars in savings, which we've had success stories at that level, then how many tens of millions of dollars in new product sales would you have to achieve? You hit the nail right on the head. That's an aspect of the business that is so critical to profit, that often gets overlooked. Often
Gets
gets
overlooked. Yeah. There's nothing like sexy about it, right? It's just kind of like
exactly.
plain. People want, we celebrate the sales team for increasing revenue. We celebrate, hitting new numbers. We don't ever really celebrate saving more money. Meanwhile, like you said, for you to save them $100,000 at a 10% profit margin, would be like raising another $1 million in revenue,
Correct.
which would be monumental for most businesses, right? So yeah, it's tremendous. Um, so listen, everybody loves a good story, and I'm sure that you're full of good stories of client successes. Tell us, you don't have to give names of customers, whatever. We want to keep things confidential. We don't want to, expose anybody that doesn't want to be exposed, but just give us a good client story of a success story where you came in and really, made a difference in this company.
Great.
Thank you to our sponsor, MTL Telephones. That's mtltelephones.com. You want to give them a call at 631-823-7100. MTL Telephones provides voice over IP telephone services, most likely cheaper than the price that you're paying right now, and more options. For example, I use it for my telephone service, and I can answer my call from any device, my laptop, a tablet, my smartphone, or a phone system from anywhere in the world. I can answer it here, or my assistant can answer it halfway across the world. Voicemail messages get transcribed and sent to me as text messages, as well as I can send and receive text messages from that voice over IP. They also have an AI auto assistant so that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, your phone can be answered by an AI assistant that you have trained. So once again, you want to give them a call, go visit their website at mtltelephones.com or call their number at 631 823-7100. Pick option 5 for sales. Give Mike a call. So thank you so much, MTL, for being our sponsor for this
Okay,
broadcast.
great. I have two I'd like to share with you if you don't, if
Yeah,
you
please.
you'll have me. So the first one is a biomedical firm that was utilizing Federal Express, FedEx Express to transport all their products. And for years and years and years, their business continued to grow. They kept giving FedEx more volume. And in the FedEx, UPS contracts, most parcel carrier contracts, there are triggers that the more volume you give them, the greater the discount comes, except when you outgrow the contract. So these folks had not renegotiated their contract in about 4 or 5 years. I don't remember
Wow.
the exact
And they
time.
probably weren't aware of it because
They're not aware
they
of
didn't
it.
reread the contract.
They didn't read the contract, so they could have grown their business 10 times and not gained another penny. And
Right.
so the other piece of it was they never audited their invoices. And they were sending everything because of the critical nature of the product. It would had to be delivered next day air. So they're utilizing the most expensive product in the FedEx network. And if the shipment didn't get delivered on time, they were entitled to a refund, but they never audited the freight bills. Reality is they would have to track each and every package, right? Get on the phone, did it was delivered, what time was it delivered, match the shipping document to the delivery receipt, etc. But we have a completely automated process for that to be able to recover those
Wow.
dollars. And so that was one area where we helped them. The other area was we helped them renegotiate that contract to get the tiers that made sense for their business at the time that they were shipping and in the future. So going ahead 2 or 3 years for growth, you're going to be covered 2 or 3 years from now. We'll go back and tweak the contract. We'll actually track it as we're doing the auditing, because if we
Right.
see trends where you fall below the line or you go above the line, we can make adjustments to the contract. That client saved $4.5 million over 3 years between the audit recoveries and
$4.5 million. Think of
4.5
how much
million.
work it takes to try to make $4.5 million in
It was
profit.
absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. And the other story I'll tell you is a story of a clothing retailer who we identified a seven-figure savings. What was
Wow.
interesting about this, and we see this quite often, where we have a kind of a blockage in within the organization because you've got procurement doing one thing, you've got logistics doing another thing, you've got operations doing another thing. And what had happened was we were brought in through the logistics department to analyze the shipping and see what we could save. And as I say, there were $7 million worth of savings. But the contract negotiations, which was being handled by procurement, was going on for several months. At one point, the procurement department stepped in and said, "We're done. We're not going to do any further analysis. We're not taking your numbers. We're going to deal with the numbers that the carrier gave us." And they missed out on, I believe the number was close to $7 million in savings. That's a real story. And
Wow.
again, because what we see often is that it's so splintered. Who's taking advantage? Would the CFO be looking at that? No, the procurement departments, they sign contracts, right? So
Right.
give them the freight contract. But if you don't understand the freight contract, why are you giving it to the procurement group?
Right.
Ultimately, where we focus is on that CFO level, letting him know here are the numbers that you should be paying. This is where you should be, as opposed to what your company is actually paying. So
Wow.
those are two diametrically different stories, but again, you can see the value that can come from an audit and a contract optimization.
Yeah, 100%. So let's say, some businesses, their entire business is shipping, right? Their entire business model is we take it from here, we ship it to there. I'm going to ship it in, I'm going to ship it out, right? But others, shipping stuff is just maybe a small part of their overall business. At what point does somebody say, this is worth giving Tony a call and looking into it? Shipping's, moving stuff around is not necessarily our thing. It's just a part of it. At what dollar number, or how does somebody know, hey, this is worth a phone call?
Yeah, it's a great question. Typically, we like to say if their shipping expenses are $500,000 or greater, they're obviously a candidate. But I'll be very honest with you. We've got startups that we're working with. We've got small businesses, a small machine shop that we're working with currently that was shipping product with, I believe it was UPS, and is not getting any discount. We couldn't believe that. So
Hmm.
we now have, negotiated on their behalf with them for them to get some discounts, which they never ever had before. And their annual spend is probably less than $100,000 a year. So if you can get a 30, 35, 40% discount,
That's
that you
great.
have before, put that in your pocket.
Yeah,
And to have no discount today is just unheard of.
right. Yeah, it's crazy. Like every dollar you save is a full dollar you're saving. It's a dollar
Exactly.
actually that goes
It
into
goes right to the
profit.
bottom line.
Yeah,
That's the whole value. It goes right to the bottom line. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can spend
you can
it.
spend it. You can spend it where you want to instead of where you didn't want to,
You can
where you didn't
spend
have to. That's awesome. Um, so tell me about you founded the company and you had somebody on your team that's now your CEO.
Yeah, correct. It's a great story. I've been so blessed over the years. But my first hire was 2 years after I started the business. I needed somebody to come in 10 hours a week to do some filing and typing, et cetera. So I went to the local high school and I said, I'm looking for somebody 10 hours a week, come in, do typing and filing. They said this lovely young lady into my office. And I said, okay, great, here, do this. And the next thing I knew, she was done with it. I said, wait
Done.
a
Yeah.
minute, I'm thinking that should take 2 or 3 hours and whatever the case may be. And she's just been a remarkable hard worker. And so she worked part-time for me during her last 2 years of high school. She worked for me while she was going to college. And then when she graduated college, she became a full-time employee, which was 47 years ago, and she is now the CEO of the company. And how did that happen? That happened because I saw her capabilities. I challenged her. She would or initially she just want to be in the background. Don't put me out in public. I'll do the work. You just keep churning it out. You be the face. I'll do this. But over time, we traveled together. We made presentations with clients, and it's just been an incredible story. And for me, at this stage of life, to have her as well as the rest of my executive team running the business day in and day out, keeping me posted on what's going on, brainstorming, talking about new technology, talking about needing new employees, talking about how do we grow the business, what marketing trends are important, and what should we be putting our money into in terms of marketing, in terms of technology, et cetera. It's just been incredible.
So a lot of people in business, everybody knows I got to delegate. And a lot of people say, I have a problem delegating, or they'll delegate. And they're like, you know what? It's just better, easier, faster, higher quality if I just do it myself. And there's the expression, if you want the job done right, do it yourself, right?
Mhm.
That's the expression that's sometimes true, sometimes not true. Um, but how do I train and coach people on how to delegate properly, but how would like you've raised up leaders, you've got an executive team. How do you take that process from somebody who's, I can't offload it to you because you're not capable of doing it to you are fully owning this and you're doing it probably better than I could do it if I did it myself. How do take us through that process that you use to get there?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great question, I should say, in terms of how do you get people to get over that line? You've got to kind of break that barrier where they're in their comfort zone. You got to get them out of that comfort zone, push them in. Push is probably too strong a word. Encourage them to take this next step.
Inspire.
Yeah, exactly. Little bit pieces at a time, and constantly reward them in terms of this you did great. This was wonderful. This here, this is how we have to pay. So you have to be willing and able to do that in terms of the training process that says, this is good, this is not so good. This is how you do it next time. What about this? Let's try this. And it also encouraged them to bring in one of the things that we've done all for every employee that came in. You train them, right? And say, here's the process. We do A, B, C, D. But as you're working on that, if you find a way for us to get from A to B, A to D, excuse me, faster
A little
than
more efficiently, right?
we're open to any suggestions, and that has worked wonders over time because these folks are in the trenches. They see
They're
it.
in the
They,
trenches.
oh, we
Yeah.
have this step. This makes no sense, and we kind of get around that. So encouraging people. I will tell you, there were folks that I talked to early in my business life, business people who would tell me, you give too much credit to your employees. Don't pat them on the
Well,
back all the time. I
there's
mean,
there's zero there's a
right?
zero ability to give too much credit to your employees. They do the work.
They do.
This
It's
is
amazing, but that was the old school. I'm old enough to be part of that old
yeah.
school. But I said,
Listen,
no,
this
no,
is
no.
how it works. When it goes well, they did it. And when it goes
That's
wrong, it's my fault. That's
yeah,
bottom
right.
line. Welcome to Leadership 101. If you don't like that, do something else.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's great. It's amazing how like these principles have been around, right? People know them, they've lived them, they've gotten good results from them, and still people to this day aren't following, good leadership principles, right? It's mindsets, it's habits. So that concept of, look, you're on the front line. Here's how we do it. Go ahead and learn it. Be an expert at doing it my way. And then let me know how to do it your way that's better,
Yeah.
more efficient. I'm going to listen to you because I know you're doing it every single day. I know you, I trust you, and I want you to tell me how do we make this a little bit more efficient. I don't know everything. The two of us are smarter than either one of us individually.
No, no question. It's interesting. I think about this often, and I've said this over and over again to my team and to friends and business associates about gut feeling. And I don't know if that's, if you have a gut feeling that this is the right decision, that this is the right move, or this is the wrong move, 90+% of the time, that's spot on. People commend me and they say, wow, that was you brought this person in. They were the exact right person for the job. It's not magic. It's just over years, you kind of feel like, I read resumes of people. We had a woman come in back to the workforce after raising her kids 15, 20 years. And it was like the resume, the cover letter was like, we have to talk to this person because this is the type of person we need. And then you also have a company culture, right? So
Yeah.
you have to have the talent, but you also have to have the company culture that the individual is going to fit in. It's like a machine, right?
Right.
All the gears are meshing together. And that's what creates harmony within the workplace. That's what creates growth. That's what creates ingenuity. It's just everything you need to be successful.
Yeah. So I don't remember who came up with the term first. I'm pretty sure I probably wasn't even around, but the term that culture eats strategy for breakfast, the idea that culture is a greater determiner of your success in business than your business strategy. Not to say that strategy is bad, right?
Right.
Good. Let's have both. Let's have a really good culture. Let's have a really good business strategy. But if I had to choose between the two, I would definitely take culture day in and day out. And when I'm hiring somebody, the most important thing that I'm going to say is in hiring, because you can train them on their task, but you want to make sure that you have a good cultural fit. And when I say cultural fit, I mean their belief system, their core values match your core values as a company. If you're not meticulous as a leader to hire the right fit people, you're going to end up with cultural drift. And when you have cultural drift, it's going to take your company in a direction that you don't want to go in, and trying to get it back on track is going to be a lot of extra work. You're setting yourself up. I'd rather have nobody filling a role than somebody who's not a right fit for
No
the
question.
company filling that role.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you build that over time. Get to feel like they're part of it. They cherish their job. They're happy to be there. Their work shows it. It's truly an amazing thing when you think about in our business. How did we grow? I think one of the key things for us is relationship. We're a relationship driven business. We have clients that have gone from company A and then went to company B, and we worked with them during when they were at company A. They go to B, they're on the phone saying, "Yeah, I love what you did for me there. I need you to do it here." And
Yeah.
that goes over, decades, and it's
Right.
absolutely, to me speaks volumes. But it is that culture.
Absolutely.
If you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you
How
make
hard is that?
Absolutely. If you make a mistake, you got to admit it.
Admit it.
Hey, you know what? We screwed that up. You're 100% correct. Well, we'll make sure it doesn't happen again, but that's on us. We'll eat
Right.
that because, we did something wrong here. But
Right. In long term, it pays off. People
uh,
can't figure out how are we going to survive this in the short term, but the reality is you're gonna survive it in the long term. You've got to take responsibility, you got to take accountability and
absolutely.
own mistakes happen. Everybody understands mistakes happen. Handle it the
Right.
right way. I know of a situation, this company was designing some software for some other, I think it was a hospital, and there was a mistake that affected like five patients, and they fixed it right away. But they're like, what do we do about this? We're like, well, we're transparent. That's our core value as a company. We need to go to our client and we need to tell them, we made this mistake and it affected these five clients' information. They go to and they're all concerned they're going to get terminated. And the guy goes, look, you told us you made a mistake with five people. That means we can trust you with anything. Like we're concerned that people are making mistakes with 50,000 people and
Thousand
not
people.
telling us, you made a mistake that affected five people and you're upfront about it. This is somebody I want to do business with.
Absolutely.
So, and you walk into that afraid, like, hey, I might get fired. I'm going to get terminated. I'm going to, they're going to, whatever. Right. But it's all imaginary. The reality, it's so crazy that if you just do the right thing, the things that you taught your kids when they were little, just do the right thing, share your toys, be kind, like be
Exactly.
honest, like all the things you learn in kindergarten, they're applicable in business. And unfortunately, there's a subset of people who believe in order to be successful in business, you've got to be underhanded, you've got to be dog eat dog, you got to, cut corners, cheat people. And I don't see that. I see
Uh,
successful business people. They're good, honest, hardworking people. They do the right thing. They care about their employees. They care about their customers. They care about all their stakeholders, everybody who's involved in the business. They care about everybody. They're doing the right thing. And long term, that's the plan for success.
Yeah, there's no question. I can tell you, we've talked to companies over the years, individuals over the years who wanted to work with us, but they had a completely different idea of how the process should work. In other words, you save my company money, but you pay me personally a percentage of that. That's not going to happen. No, no. In fact, I remember doing an audit for a major retailer one time, and he didn't tell me what to just do the audit, blah blah blah. And I came back with my audit report, and I said, we looked at all of these carriers here, but this carrier here, their rates are like twice the amount of all of the other carriers in similar zones. Interestingly enough, the shipping manager was the owner of that carrier, a silent partner, but the owner of that
Right.
carrier. So yeah, that we don't play that game.
Right.
Could you make a lot of money? Maybe you can make some money, but then you got to sleep at night. And when you get up to shave in the morning, you got to look at yourself in the mirror.
Right.
That never changes. That
Right.
that's all you got. That's all you
Right.
have.
Yeah. Good stuff. So in my business, what I do, leadership coaching and training, I have a three-part program. I call it Leadership Unleashed. And the three parts of this: inspiration, activation, transformation. And the inspiration part, being a leader who can inspire their team, because teams that are inspired, they're energized, right? So you said that you people are happy to come to work, they're engaged, they're enthusiastic. That's different than the majority of businesses out there, right? So Gallup poll did a poll and they came up with about two-thirds of the population of employees are disengaged at work. They don't want to do a good job. They're not your employees.
They look like
They're
the
they're
enemy,
like,
right?
just pay me I'm going to show up, I'm going to work, and you're going to pay me my pay. I'm going to go home. I'm going to forget this job even exists. I'm just here to pay my bills, right? And you're not getting that. So you have some level of ability to inspire your team to be like, hey, you know what? We like coming to work. We like doing this job. We like serving our customers. We like saving our customers money. We like the job that we do. We like the atmosphere that we're in. We actually enjoy this. This is part of who we are. We feel valued and respected. So there's all these pieces that provide, that basically say, and you may not have been trying to do this, but you're an inspirational leader. You've inspired your team to like working there. Part of that is having good character. People don't like to work for people who don't have good character. Part of that is caring for your team members. Nobody wants to work for somebody who doesn't care about them. But what else would you say? Like, what are the things that you think that you've done that have helped you to be that inspirational leader to your team?
Well, I think it's interesting. I have 5 children, so over the years we've had our fair share of problems. Johnny fell off the bike, and Johnny was rushed to the hospital. Johnny's
Yeah,
got high fever. All of that stuff. And I've started from the beginning. I'm bringing Laura in as our first full-time employee, and then as we've grown, bringing in many other people. I treat them as if they are my family. I always felt it's a family business, but not necessarily. You don't necessarily have to have the last name Nuzio to be part of the family, though we've had our fair share of Nuzios working
yeah,
for the business. So I really feel, whatever I can do to help these people, come and say, oh, I just got a call from the school, so-and-so is sick, I got to go, but I got this big project. No problem. Family first, business second, because that's really the way it should be.
right.
And when you have those principles, people really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
over time, you build that culture, you build that leadership. They see what you do, see how you treat your family, how everybody's important. You go out of your way to make life good for them, for their families, etc. And it resonates throughout the organization, and just
right.
people excel in that environment.
Yeah. It's 100% true. People, if you have their back, they'll have your back, right?
Yeah,
You tell somebody, hey, go home, your son is sick in school, go take care of it. I'll take care of whatever you're working on.
absolutely.
We'll fix that on the side. Don't worry about this. We got it. You go take care of your family. That's what's important to you. If it's important to you, it's important to me. When that
No
person
question.
comes back to work, they're like, you know what? Uh, Tony wants this. This is what's important to him. Well, guess what? If it's important to Tony, it's now important to me because I'm important to him, and
Exactly.
that's the way it works. Not that we're going to do it for that reason. We do it because we actually care, but it does pay us back in
Yeah.
in
There's no question.
dividends.
I have this saying that says, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
Yeah,
Counter to what you're saying, how many people I know, oh God, I got to go to work tomorrow. It's like, how do you live in that environment? I would blow my brains out.
yeah.
I know
But
early on
most
in my,
most that's not the job. It's the people,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
It's your boss. It's your leadership. It's the culture of your team.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, listen, I'm sure that most of the people on your team didn't grow up in, when they were kids and think, wow, I'm gonna audit, shipping
Sure.
when I'm an adult. Like it's not people are like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a, whatever, right? An astronaut, professional sports player. They don't
Yeah,
think you can
very few
audit
people pick this in
logistics.
for sure.
But they come to your team and they're part of a family, they're part of a group, they're valued, they're cared about, they're compensated properly, and they feel this sense of, hey, I'm doing something useful with my life. My customers clearly are benefiting. This could be a night and day. Like you could find, even $100,000 worth of misspent money for a company. That can be the difference between a company surviving and dying, right?
Absolutely.
So for your employee to know, hey, we did something about that. That was me. I found that stuff. I
Mhm.
did that. That's a great feeling. Then to be celebrated from, by you and by other members of the team, it's just a good environment. You've created a good culture that inspires people to want to come to work and be engaged and work. So
Yeah.
next phase of the leadership unleashed is the activation, right? So if I have somebody who's inspired, they actually have to know what to do with that feel good energy that they have. I want to come to work. I want to do something meaningful. They have to be prepared and equipped for actually doing the right job. How do you make sure that your team is adequately equipped for doing, their proper work? Like how do you remove roadblocks or set them up with tools, training strategies? What do you do that helps your team be
Yeah,
equipped?
and that's a great question. Trying to give them access to as much help in terms of technology, that helps them get their job done, especially as things are changing at such a fast pace from 1 minute to the next. How AI is now entering into the workforce, which is to be honest with you, is a great tool for us in terms of going through these volumes and volumes of data and putting it out in a way that a CFO can really make sense of it, making sure they have the right tools, asking them, as I said before, what do you need? Do you see a need? How can we help you? How can we make this better? Let's think about, we don't want to stay in this same box year after year after year. We want to improve it, improve it, improve it. And we see that coming through our presentations, which were, to be very honest with you, very wordy in the beginning, very legalistic, contract kind of thing. But now we've minimized them, but minimized them to the point where it's boom, boom, boom. Here's the impact of what this is going to do for you. This is the bottom line. This is the benefit.
Right.
If you sign this service agreement with us, this is where you're going to benefit, and we're going to stand behind those numbers. We're going to at least do that dollar savings for you. Again, sending them out for training. If they need training, you send them to training, you send them to seminars, you send them to different conferences to learn. That's how you're right. I've done it. I've sat in the seats in the conferences. I've been a leader in many conferences. I've been, a speaker throughout the years and so on. And that's how you learn. Years ago, somebody from IBM taught me a phrase. He called it small group dynamics. And what that meant was we were doing some training, and within that training, you listen to the people who were training, right? The so-called experts. But the chatter that goes on from the students or the people who are in the audience is also
Just as
valuable,
valuable.
because
Yeah.
they're so that's that small group dynamics that you pick up on and say, wow, I never even realized that. So
Right.
anytime you have those types of things, and brainstorming, I love the term brainstorming. Let's put our heads together, guys. Let's not just throw this out. Is there a better way? Sometimes things don't go exactly as we want, and I say let's do a post-mortem on this thing. What could we have done better? Was there something we missed? Is there something
Right.
that we didn't see before, and we need to open our eyes now and say, oh, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Next time we'll make sure we cover that base.
Yeah. That's great. Let's look forward in the future. Like, what's the future of ICC logistics? Aim forward several years, like succession planning, growth, development. How do you change the world? Like, what's your master plan? Thank you
Well,
for joining us today on the International Leadership Podcast. My name is Joe Beauchamp, your host. I'm also the founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. We provide leadership development strategy, training, coaching, mentoring, consulting on topics such as leadership, communication, personal growth, emotional intelligence, building a culture that is successful. Get all your team developed and growing in the right direction, rowing in the right direction, carrying the burden of your team so that your company can scale the way you want it to. Give us a call or shoot me an email and have your free introductory consultation. Thank you. What's your master plan?
Well, great question. So the plan is to keep the business growing. I'll be honest with you, I get offers every day to pack it in and move you right off into the sunset. But I can't do that. I would just want to continue to be involved day in and day out. But I'm so blessed with my management team, consisting of Laura, consisting of several family members, two of my daughters, my son-in-law, and others who are there, who are going to be the future of the business as we see it. We see great growth potential in terms of what's happening in the logistics industry and supply chain industry. Things. What I loved about this industry back in '75 was that every day was a new adventure. There were new things happening, new things changing. That was slow motion. Today,
Yeah,
like
now
whoosh.
it's not every day is a new adventure. Every minute's a new adventure.
Exactly. We look at like the fuel surcharges, to give you an example, right? So the government every week posts the average fee, the average fuel price per gallon of diesel, and then the freight carriers say, okay, my fuel surcharge is going to be X. Well, what some of the carriers now have done, typically, as the price of fuel goes up, the fuel surcharge goes up. As the
Right.
price of fuel goes down, the fuel surcharge is supposed to go down.
Supposed to.
They stopped it. They cut it out. So it goes down, it goes down, it goes down. They're still getting this higher fuel surcharge.
Right.
So it's moving at a feverish pace. And we
Right.
need to be on top of that. We need to be out there showing the people consistently how to, benefit from contracts, which is another thing that people, they sign agreements, they sign service agreements, they sign contracts. They have no idea what they're signing. We've had clients sign contracts where there is a termination clause. And the carrier says, if you terminate this contract before the 2-year contract, 3-year contract, you have to pay us $500,000, $250,000. So people are saying, oh, I'm stuck. I'm locked into this contract. No, because in many cases, if you know how to do it, we can negotiate that out of that contract. But if you don't
Right.
know that, you've got a contract that says you're locked in. And
Right.
so it's a matter of really understanding what you can and cannot do.
Right. That's awesome. So we're going to wrap up very soon, but before we go, I just want to give you an opportunity to share anything that's on your mind with the listening audience, words of wisdom, encouragement, whatever. What's on your heart that you'd love to share with we get about 2 to 6,000 views per episode. So these could be people scattered around the country, around the world. What's your parting wisdom you want to hand
Well, I
off to this next
appreciate the
generation?
opportunity. I would say to the shipping community, and specifically to the chief financial officers of the business, to take a look at that line. I've talked to CPAs in the past. I said, well, you go in and you audit a client's books, right? P&L, all this other stuff. And so how do you determine when they spend $5 million on shipping that that's the number? And the answer we get back often is, well, if it falls within a percentage, then we're okay with it. That's certainly not a scientific study of those things. So
Right.
again, at no risk, no cost, to have a review of your shipping costs, to do a logistics analysis, and we offer a free logistics analysis through our website. You just go in, put your name and address. We'll have one of our guys reach out to you and just take a look at that. If there's opportunity, great. We'd love to partner with you. If you feel you want to do it on your own, feel free to do it. We'd love to do a post-mortem on that as well. When after you're done, let you know. And we've done that, by the way, where we've, the money that's been left on the table, we've seen it. One of the other things is very often the freight carrier sales reps will come in and say, well, we're getting your new contract. We're getting all these discounts and you're going to save $200,000. We run these new numbers, this new pricing through the client's actual shipping, and find out they're not going to save 200,000. It's going to cost them 115,000 more than it did before. So
Wow.
it, it's hard to imagine, but that's the real world. And unless you look at this stuff with an independent eye,
Right.
and be able to benchmark it against the rest of the world, similar shippers, similar shipping characteristics, you really don't know. You're signing a contract, you're signing an agreement in the dark. You
Right.
don't know if you're getting the best deal.
Right. Don't sign anything. Call Tony. If
Oh,
you got
that's right.
shipping
Don't
stuff,
sign anything, call us.
call Tony beforehand. You need that 51 years of knowledge and experience working for you. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't make sense why people wouldn't call you. It
Exactly.
doesn't cost a dime. It's a free assessment, and all you're gonna do is save them money. You get paid out of the savings. It just makes sense. Every dollar you save literally goes straight to your bottom
The
line.
bottom
It's a
line, right?
dollar in your pocket. So
Yep, yep.
it just makes sense to use that. So
We like to think it's a deal. How can you say no? I mean, come
how
on.
can you say no? Yeah. So anybody that's dealing in shipping right now, if you're listening to this podcast, uh, hit icclogistics.com
Absolutely.
and there's a contact information on there.
Tremendous amount of resources in terms of rate comparison charts, increased charts, et cetera. And we'd love to have just a quick 15-minute conversation and talk about business in general. If there's a fit, great. If there isn't, give me all attaboy.
Yeah, attaboy, doing great. Keep it up. And you have a blog that you send out or newsletter.
Yeah, logistic strategies comes out weekly, sometimes more than a weekly, based on what's going on in the world. Trying to keep
And they get signed sign up for that on the website.
You can sign up for that on the website. Love to
All
have you
right,
join.
icclogistics.com. Sign
Mhm.
up for that newsletter. It comes out every week. Get the, be in the know, and schedule that consultation to do a little evaluation of your business and see how much they could save you money. Doesn't cost you a dime. Doesn't make sense to not do this. Worldwide, wherever you're shipping from, wherever you're shipping to, whether it's
Exactly.
by plane, train, or automobile, or ship, or boat, or
Exactly.
camel, or
Well,
carrier
that
pigeon.
they have a problem with.
All right, all right. That was not literally correct. Legal disclaimer there. Joe is speaking out of line. He doesn't really know what he's talking about, just being funny. But anyway, um, but
Yep.
yeah, so Tony, thank you so much for being part of the show today.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
having you on here. God bless you and your family. 51 years serving clients, making a difference in this world, creating that great company culture. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the great things you've been doing over the course of these years, and keep going strong. Wish you another 51 more years of
Thank
health
you.
and well-being, and
I appreciate
and
that.
everything.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for taking the time out and for your kind words. It's truly, truly appreciated.
Thank you. To our listening audience, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you. Don't forget to check out Live to Lead. That's the Long Island Live to Lead. It's a business leadership conference coming up in January. It's my event. You'll hear me speaking. It'll be encouraging, inspiring, and good for everybody out in the listening audience. If you're here on Long Island, um, check out live2leadli.com and please join us there. And we'll see you all next week on the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Well, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching our podcast of the International Leadership Podcast. Once again, my name is Joe Beauchamp, president and founder of Beauchamp Team Growth Solutions. That's beauchampteam.com. If you like this episode, please like it, share it, subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in being a guest or a sponsor of this program, please give me an email at info@beauchampteam.com. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it and discuss options and how it can work something out for everyone to win. Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Bye.